Everybody,
Jody.
welcome to Seattle. If you could take your seats, that would be great. Welcome, everyone. Is there anybody here who is a new guest? Welcome. Liz, thank you. I apologize. This is extraordinarily new for me to be up here. So, what we're going to do is start off our meeting, and I have the pleasure of introducing myself. Because I'm the co-special and it's Teresa McCoy. And eventually, if you come here frequently, you will learn to not call me Teresa. So, it's a beautiful name, it's just not mine. Our word of the day today is authentic. And with that, I found a quote from Oprah Winfrey. And she states, "I had no idea that being your authentic self could make me as rich as I've become. If I had, I'd have done it a lot earlier." As we go along, and for the people who are new, whenever we use the word of the day, there's a little bit of acknowledgement that that word was said. When a person is up here speaking, what we ask is that you only tap once. Because if you tap more than that, it becomes distracting for the speaker, and especially if they're new speakers. So just remember that. In the meantime, what we're going to do is I will introduce each of our membership leadership team for today and all the roles that they are fulfilling. And they will each give us a simple little explanation of what their role is. We're going to start with the improv master, Joe Pollack.
Improv master is something akin to table topics in other Toastmaster clubs. And what we do is we get up here as a group, and the improv master has a list of silly topics, words or expressions, ideas he throws up, and then we just arbitrarily pick people at random. We point to them, and then they say or comment on that. It's like thinking on your feet, but have a little fun with it at the same time. So when we have that, please take it in the spirit it's given. It can be silly, it can be goofy, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say is properly okay. It's just all in fun. Thank you.
General evaluator.
Bob, can you serve as general evaluator?
The general evaluator looks at the entire flow of the meeting to see how well it works, to see how everything comes together with parts and pieces, and to offer up any criticism constructive to help improve our overall performance from the other evaluators, to how the Toastmaster of the day did, to the speakers, anything that should be brought up, any decorum matters. So,
Thank
Madam
you.
Toastmaster.
Thank you. Speech evaluator number 1 is going to be Jody.
Should I say something?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it'll be my privilege to evaluate Bob, who's speaking. Bob's quite an experienced speaker, so I'll be all over him to make sure that he's on this improving. But I do have an evaluation sheet, so I will be using these pointers as a way to judge how well he's doing relative to his goals or the stated goals for the speech.
And speech evaluator number 2, John. Juan.
Yeah.
Sorry. Juan Lee.
I will be evaluating Elizabeth's speech, and for Elizabeth, this is her speech number 10. It's project 10, so the objectives are to inspire the audience by appealing to noble motives and challenging the audience to achieve a higher level of beliefs or achievement. And then appeal to the audience's needs and emotions using stories, anecdotes, and quotes to add drama, and to avoid using notes. And the speech will be 8 to 10 minutes.
Thank you. Our grammarian or ha counter today is John Lucasia.
Good afternoon, everybody. The grammarian's role today is to catch any miscues in pronunciation and checking for grammatical accuracy, as well as the ah and the counter.
Thank you.
Presentation.
And our timer today is Judy Yanza.
Hi, I'm Judy, and I'm the timer. My responsibility is to make sure that the speakers, the grammarian, and the evaluators are on time. So I use these cards. You know, I flash this when it's time for them to stop.
All right. And now it's time to move on to our speaker number one. It's my pleasure to present, I call him Bob Wilson. And he is going to be giving his speech. Oh, which speech is it?
From the one of the advanced manuals on informative speaking.
Okay, that explains why I'm unfamiliar with it. So Bob is going to be given a speech from the advanced manual. Bob has been focusing on grammar and pronunciation for years, and he's going to be presenting from the Dr. Grammarly series for us today. So, everybody, welcome Bob.
I gave an informational speech one time when I was in college. And instead of focusing on something from the Bible and the teachers later saying, oh, thank goodness this wasn't something that you had to accept by faith and believe and think through. No, I gave information on the historical accuracy of that which we call the Bible and why we should pay more attention to it. But today, we'll talk a little bit more on a different area. It's important in speaking to use the words properly, but how many of us are really pronouncing them correctly? I took a class, more than one, on proper diction and pronunciation. I want to share with you in the time allotted about 2 years of studies in about a small window. Having said that, we know that there are vowels and there are consonants in our everyday speech. Interestingly enough, we look at the alphabet and we say, yes, that contains everything we need to know about proper pronunciation. Yes and no? No. Because we look at the different sounds as they're formed. If you say the letter, if you see the letter B, you're saying B. Well, the speech pathologist says that's two different sounds, B and E. So we're going to break the sounds down into what's called phonemes as we look at this, and you'll see why in a little while too. The vowels are broken down into 3 categories where they're formed in the mouth. The front of the mouth, we will see sounds that go E, I, A. And they use a little I, a capital I. I got that wrong. And an sound. Those come from the front of the mouth. The middle, most notably, is a sound that is very strong. They call earth. The sound is considered a vowel to the speech pathologist. A weaker sound, earth, is unaccented with this little squiggle on it as well. At the back of the mouth, we get the oo sound, the the aw, and yes, an accented ah comes from the back of the mouth. How many letters do we have in the English language? 26. How many sounds do we have in the English language? When we break this down, we have 46. No wonder our speakers from other countries are a little puzzled because we have different pronunciations for the exact same letter. Fortunately for our Spanish speakers, they're familiar with the C taking on the S and the K sound. The consonants are broken into two categories, voiced and unvoiced. Yes, if you want to practice with a little bit of audience participation, be my guest. In the voiced and the unvoiced, we have what they call plosives, or B. Here's the difference. We have fricatives, which kind of glide into it. Z. Here's the difference. And we have affricates. They kind of pop and glide, which makes that term makes a pathologist go, don't say it that way. Well, we don't worry about that. We just say it's a combination of a plosive and the fricative, making a unique sound to the English language. Put your tongue between your teeth and go, bath. But you dip that person in the water and you start washing them off, they are bathing. If you do that long enough, your lips and tongue will start to itch and tickle and twiggle. That means you're doing it right. We look at these because we have the plosives. Ba, da, ga. And here's a good one. But it's not the G you know. No, it goes in a different category here for a reason, which I'll cover in a minute. And we have da. We're going to come back to these, real important, in a few minutes. As we said, you got the z and the s. You've got the and the. These are important because some people think they're closely related, but they're not. And because the F can have one of these will go off. What happens? Most men, when they see the word of, don't count the F as a F, they count it as a V. Because, sorry guys, the male brain's wired a little different. The ladies are better in some areas than we are, like speech and speaking. Here's the kicker with the affricates. We put this with, I forgot something that's important we can use. We have the sh and the z. Azure. Shh. Shush now. We don't wish that noise. We have another one. Authentic. Thus we are authentic tonight. Now we mix those together. We put the da and the ja together, and we have ja, judge, Judy, jump, Geronimo, giraffe. We put the unvoiced ones together, and we have champ, batch, bunch, chile. Why are we saying this? Because here's the key. Most of us will say this word wrong until you pay attention and hear it, because like any piece of singing, you are going to make mistakes until you hear it. The R is formed in the middle of the mouth. Everybody go, rrr, rrr. It's in the middle of the mouth. But the T is formed at the front of the mouth. The sh is formed more in the back, towards the middle to the back. The ch is real close to here. So what do we do when we say the word try? We go, try, because it's so much closer to the R. I look for those at speech competitions, by the way. If I need to separate the A from the B, that's it. The voiced, we do the same thing. Dry or dry. Drive. That's why we focus on the better pronunciations, because we'll sound more knowledgeable and better prepared and planned. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you very much. Wow. That was definitely a very educational speech, and it kind of reminded me of sitting in a class learning how to teach dyslexics how to read. And aside from our sounds, as Bob pointed out, we also have the fact that the letter combinations make it very hard for spelling. And that's why dyslexics are better auditory learners than visual. A little piece of information. Our next speaker is going to be Elizabeth, and she is giving her 10th speech, and it's titled Game Changer, and the purpose is to inspire her audience. Now, Elizabeth has stated that Toastmasters has made her become more authentic as she got involved with people and being more personally intimate. So, welcome, Elizabeth.
I need to ask a question before I start. Juan, can you look on the timing? Because on the paper it says 8 to 10, but I thought it was 5 to 7.
On project 10, it says 8 to 10, but I think now.
Okay, it's just kind of, I'm going to try to be authentic, and I'm going to try to change my speech a little bit. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to think of someone that is a game changer. The definition of a game changer is a person, actually an idea, but today it's going to be a person that makes a change in a significant way. All right, now I want you to think of 3 qualities that for you describes this person and why they are a game changer. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. All right, whatever you have, go ahead and open up your eyes. I'd like for you to take a second and turn to the people at your table and share the person that you thought of and the 3 qualities that you thought of that describe this person.
So my person is president of the association.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Made me think of an old friend. Honestly, it was authentic, extremely. Whom I learned a lot. So his quality was very knowledgeable. He was very familiar with multicultural. And has a very unique character.
Can't think of one, that's fine.
Mine is Lydia Martinez. She's an awesome motivator. She rules by integrity for the business that she built. And her entire goal is just to help people transform into better versions of themselves.
I feel bad I picked Tom Brady, quarterback for the Patriots. And leadership, hard work, and just relentless.
I'm very interested in that lady.
Okay. Whatever, if you haven't quite gone yet, maybe you'll have a chance to share what you thought with your partners at a later time today. Give me a shout out. Just shout out a couple of people that you thought of that were game changers.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady,
Isaac Asimov.
Isaac
Asimov.
Asimov.
Lydia,
John Korzybski,
Oh, yeah.
Bob Korzybski.
Bob Korzybski, right?
Lydia Martinez.
Lydia Martinez. Okay, I'm not familiar with all of these people, some of them, but not all of them. Now, would somebody raise their hand and just let us know, what were your 3 qualities that describe this person as a game changer? Teresa.
She motivates people. She rules her business with integrity, and her goal is to help people become better versions of themselves.
All of these qualities, some of these qualities, or maybe all of these qualities, are what Toastmasters has given me and has made me somewhat of a game changer. I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to say has made me a game changer. Miss Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, have you ever considered yourself as a game changer? You thought about these people in your head, but what about you? I never, ever, ever thought of myself as a game changer until I came to Toastmasters. Today I want to talk to you about 3 qualities that Toastmasters has given me. First thing is, it has made me a self-starter, or someone that takes initiative. A year ago in June, I became a Toastmaster. I joined the club, and the next month I did my icebreaker. It was tough, it was scary, but I did it. I also became the secretary of the club, like Juan is the secretary now. In becoming a part of leadership, I got to share my ideas with people like Jody. She was on leadership. I got to collaborate with them towards specific projects. It gave me confidence to continue to be a self-starter and take the initiative. The second quality was, or is, being a risk taker. That's the most hilarious quality that I've ever heard of, because I would never until today call myself a risk taker. Ever. I was terrified to even mention the word. Every time I mentioned that word or thought about that word, I thought of totally other people in my life. But Toastmasters has done that for me. This March 2017, 4 people within our club made the commitment to get their competent communicator by this July. This is my 10th speech. And I worked really hard with the people in the group and myself to step out and take risks. One area that I took a risk in was I called up another club that I had been a part of 20 years ago. And I said, hey, I'd really like to come to your club and do 3 speeches over 3 months. Because I was going to need to do 6 speeches between March and July. And that meant that I was going to have to do 2 speeches sometimes during 1 month, during specific months. I opened the floor up to other people and I said, is there anybody that could use a speaker in another realm? Maybe at another club, maybe at a contest. So Crystal McCain said, oh, there's a division that needs a contest speaker. And so in April, I went and gave a speech that I could count towards my competent communicator, and I got 4 evaluations. That was exciting for me. It was a way for me to grow. Another way that I've been a risk taker is not always sharing the flowery comments about a speech. I'm a teacher by trade. So I tell children the good things that they're doing and the ways that they need to improve. There was a gentleman in the club who was a good speaker, but now he is a great speaker. myself and somebody else went to him and said, we want to give you some constructive comments to make you a great speaker. He has just moved up leaps and bounds. And so I got to be a part of that. I got to make a difference in his life with constructive comments that were, in my mind, a little bit risky for me to share with him, but he appreciated it. Isn't that why we're here? To get better, to improve? The third quality is persistence. You're going to face challenges. Two problems that I've had in my speaking is, one, the number of ums. My icebreaker had 18 ums in it. The next speech had 16. The next speech had 10. The next speech had 5. Last speech, number 9, I had 0 ums. I was very, very excited. Another problem that I have persisted through is not using notes. The notes are over there next to Teresa. I'd really like to use them. I'd really like to grab them. But when you use notes, you don't engage with your audience as much as you can. So, I stopped using notes on speech 8, and it's made a difference. It's made me more authentic. My call to action for you is this. I've told you about 3 different qualities that have started a plant that is growing inside of me. Taking initiative. For you, I ask you to always do your best when you come to the club. Always try your best to be prepared. If you didn't know about doing your role when you came to the club, do your best with the time that you had in the role that you have. Risk-taking. Try to, or actually consider speaking at other clubs. Consider getting involved with leadership. And then persistence, I want you to pick one goal between now and 6 months that you could work on. Maybe it's the number of ums. Maybe it's using notes or not using notes. Maybe it's something on a smaller scale. Maybe it's something to do with working with somebody else. Whatever your goal is, work on one goal and work on it. Continue to work on it. Everyone wants you to succeed in this club. In coming to Toastmasters, you are experiencing, and you have experienced the beginning of change, because each one of you is a game changer. Ms. Toastmaster.
Wow. That was extraordinary. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Game changers. Wow, we're all game changers. Next, we have our improv master.
Okay, the improv is a table topics kind of thing where we get up as a group. Everyone please get up and we form a circle. And then I come up with a number of topics. I'm going to start with the one that seems to be very popular. For the newcomers, you'll see what we mean. We relax. We can be ourselves. We can be a little silly. We can be a little serious. There's no real difference. Nobody's judging us. It's about me. I have no filters, so I would never know anyway. The first one is called Zip Zap Zop. You remember the Zip Zap Zop? What happens is I point to someone, I'll say zip, they'll say zap, and then they'll point to someone else at random, and that person will say zop. And we just go around for a little bit. Zip Zap Zop, Zip Zap Zop. Okay? Zip!
Zap.
Zap.
Zip, zap.
Zap. Zip.
Here's the sign.
I just point to somebody.
Oh.
Zip.
Zap.
Zip. Zap.
Zap.
Zip.
Zap. Zop.
Zip.
Zap.
Zop.
Zip Zap Zop. And we're going to leave it at that. Okay, the next one, my list of, I call it nicknames. Came up with this one because I was asked to do this on the fly, so do you have a favorite nickname from the past or present with friends, relatives, neighbors? I'll give my nickname. I have a variety of them. I'm Joe Math Dude because I love numbers. I'm also Smoking Joe from the service. I mean, nothing to do with real drugs, that's another story. It was just an interesting nickname because of Joe Fraser. I was always good for an argument, so it became Smoking Joe. So what Smoking Joe was going to ask somebody to give their nickname. Pick one or make one up. Something that reflects your personality. One.
Right. Teresa?
I have multiple nicknames.
My dad called me Skeeter because he said that I fit in the palm of his hand and was tiny as one. He was a big man. And my brother could not say my name, so he called me Sissy. And then more recently, as I started going around the karaoke circuit and motorcycle clubs, they nicknamed me Angel because they got tired of me correcting them on my name. They just said that my behavior reflected that of an angel versus too hot and sexy and hot pants and stuff like that. So.
Any good points?
Oh, well, what can I say? They call me Tweety. That's.
Ah. When I was in college, I ran a radio program called the Dr. White Show. So what I do when I'm going to the radio station, walk across campus dressed in white. Later, Dr. Bob. When I earned my doctorate, well, it just fit.
Clear. My cousins, they call me Juice. Because my aunt, she says it in a weird way, so they're trying to make fun of her. Juice. With a T. It's J-U-D-S-T. And some of my friends, they call me Ruth, from Ruth. So,
Was it the Bible?
yeah.
Okay, one more. Oh, just pick somebody.
Yeah. Jody?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or have I gone, are you asking?
Yeah, have you
Oh,
gone?
no, yeah. Okay. So we're a family of nicknames in my family. It's usually an evolution or of our names. So Jody, Julesy, Juliana, Josie Posey. My mom calls me, so it's usually one though that's one of my favorites from somebody I used to work with called me Jody Odio. So to me that's really songy and happy and fun.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, the next one, I'm going to ask you, now, you know that every day of the year has a special assignment. We got special days for everything. And this month here has 3 different ice cream days. One's actually for peach, one's for just ice cream in general, and I forget the third. But the point is, there's lots of special ice creams. Now, I couldn't make up my mind, so my special ice cream would be vanilla chocolate caramel. I get all my good stuff all in one swell swoop, right? So I'm going to ask you to tell me what your favorite ice cream is, and perhaps if you want to, why? John.
My favorite ice cream is Ukrainian rose pepper.
Oh.
Because the aroma permeates the room such that it smells like you're eating a rose. And it also tastes like you're eating a rose.
Okay. Point out somebody.
My favorite ice cream is coffee flavored because I like the combination of bitter and the sweet at the same time. And it's also wakes me up, I hope.
Yes.
Coffee. Teresa?
Okay. I had to give up ice cream because it doesn't agree with me anymore. In the meantime, what I did like was cookies and cream.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, one more. Go ahead.
So my favorite ice cream depends on what format I'm intaking it. So if I'm having hot fudge sundae, I like coconut chocolate almond ice cream. My mom used to work at a dairy that made their own ice cream. That was awesome. The standby is always a coffee milkshake, but if it's a summer day and it's really hot, I like a good peach cone and a sugar cone.
Okay. Now, the next one, just a thought. We all have significant others, whether it be husbands and wives, kids, mothers, fathers, friends. Tell me about one person in particular. Now, you can pick a good quality or one you just tolerate, but you can pick something about a person you know and tell me a little bit about what that person does that makes you feel good, or just turns you, because we all have significant others who, they're called wives, that do something to irritate the living crap out of you. My wife in particular is easy to annoy sometimes, because she'll say something and I'll just simply, timer. She'll say just a minute, and I'll actually be counting down, and then I'll start saying, 3, 9. And she finds other ways to annoy me, and it's kind of a fun little game we play. Now, I'm going to pick somebody, and they're going to tell me about a person they love or they would love to change, and just pick a trait and tell me. Elizabeth, I guess.
I knew you were going to pick me. Okay. I'm going to talk about my husband. I'm going to say one thing is I love when he smiles. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question, but I'm going to do my best. I love when he smiles, like, oh, God's sunshine. He just lightens the room. Something that when we are on our first date, now that was something fun. Something that was a little off-putting was when we were on a date, our first date, he was not afraid to say that annoys me. Like, okay, you have a fork, and you're eating the food, and I take the fork and I run it over I take my teeth and I run it over the fork, and he was like, I'd stop doing that, and I thought, on a first date, and I married him. I love him. I love him, but he still does it to this day. He's like, that's annoying, Elizabeth. Oh, sorry. Oh, pick somebody. Justin.
Yeah, I can talk about my mother-in-law. She is with us for a week. And one good quality I have seen about her, she's always, doing something. And it's, but one thing that's totally annoying me is that she has opinion on everything.
Oh.
So,
It must be hard.
Oh. And just pick somebody.
yeah. It's wrong.
Okay, this person, well, I'll talk about my wife. Regardless of what she does or situations that she gets herself into, she will never, ever take ownership of that situation. And consequently, she has a difficult time in saying, hey, I screwed up, I'm sorry. However, she is quick to the punch if someone else screws up and doesn't say, I'm sorry. And I had to go through a week of her and my oldest daughter in a tete-a-tete over something that was so insignificantly simple that it just was driving me up to the wall, to the point where I had tried to intervene, but I turned out to be the bad guy. because those two got together again and they were gabbing and whatnot, and it was like I was this bad sheep in the family because I stuck my nose into something. All right.
Oh, one more, John, pick somebody.
Okay, I'll just take my sister. So she's very sweet. She's very selfless, and she likes to give gifts. I like that she gives gifts.
That's nice.
Okay.
That's nice.
Now let's turn this around and think about yourself and your single most impressive trait. Something you appreciate about yourself that you know everyone else does. Of course, it's my humility that I appreciate, but that doesn't go very far. So I'll simply say, I like myself because I think outside the box a lot. And I don't particularly care if it bothers people sometimes, because if I'm speaking my mind and I say what I think, if it's the truth, and it hurts sometimes, well, that's the way it goes. But most of the time, it's with a little sugar. But point being, I like myself and the fact that I can do that. I'm going to pick people, and I'm going to pick one person that can do the same thing. Just tell me something about yourself that you like and think people can appreciate. Justin.
Very good. I respect other people's freedom and opinion. Also, like, I know what I am. That's about it.
Okay. Pick somebody.
I would pick her.
Well, me?
Sorry, Sarah. Your name is Sarah.
Yes, yeah, okay, it is me. I see things differently, and I do them differently. And I like this about myself. And this is how other people appreciate its uniqueness.
Pick somebody.
Sure.
I am patient. So through the years when I trained others at work, I never tell them I already showed you that. And also with my children, I also learn patience, to learn to listen and be there for them. Just acknowledge what they say, not really try to solve anything. And so with work and at home, for me it's patience.
Can you pick somebody? Maybe the one, pick one last person.
Oh, boy. Well, I have two major traits that come out. Encouraging, teaching, training, sharing, encouraging. The one that's just a tad weaker is patience, because I have seen my patience wear out under certain conditions. And it hasn't been with children either.
Okay, well, thank you. Now, last one, I think should be one more, I guess it should be the last one. Vacations. Everyone likes to go on vacation. A lot of people are here because they're looking for jobs. So I'll tell you my favorite vacation. Retirement. Loving it. Thank you very much. Worst thing about retirement? Anyone know? Every day's a bad hair day. It don't matter because every day's a weekend. Hey. So tell me about your favorite vacation. John.
My favorite vacation. That's a good question, because really not the type that's predisposed to go on vacation all that long. But the last good vacation I had was finishing up an assignment in Rome, and I got to walk around the city for a while, as in Italy, and not New York.
Oh. Thank you. Pick somebody, John.
Favorite vacation?
Your favorite vacation or activity that all qualifies as vacationing.
Okay, I can't think of a place outside of our area, but a place that I really like to go that I don't go to very often is Bird Lake Park. I just love being with green, because we're always around cement. So that would be a favorite vacation spot. Oh,
Yeah.
ding. Liz.
Difficult to pick. I guess it's my vacation in 2015 in New York. I've been to New York for many that vacation was very special for me because I went to New York City School for 2 weeks to attend a big drawing program, which kind of wake me up from the childhood dream to become an artist. Through that 2-week vacation or training, I was exhausted pretty much every day because I spent like 12 hours in the studio almost every day, but I was very happy. It's like a childhood dream that I was able to achieve it.
Okay, let's pick one last person for.
My neighbor.
Oh, okay. For many years, I wanted to travel to Turkey in a very special town, which I like. And I didn't find anybody who was interested to go with me, so I went by myself for 2 weeks alone. I was scared, but I found out it was the most beautiful thing I have ever done. Beautiful people, beautiful culture. And as a matter of fact, it was very pleasurable to be alone because I could do everything and anything that I like to do anytime.
Thank you very much. Okay, the idea behind this activity is just to get you to think on your feet, speak your mind, work on skills that you can use when you actually go for job interviews. Thinking on your feet, being able to talk to a topic, whatever it is, and coming up with something that's appropriate at that point. But of course, here it's just a lot of fun, and again, it's educational. So again, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, now it is time for our evaluations. One. Oh, wait a minute. Speaker number 1 is Jody.
Keep clapping. Sorry, right at that second. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Bob. So it's a privilege to evaluate you, Bob, because it's clear that you are quite an experienced speaker. And it's just enjoyable to see how you work a room, how you interact with people. That was very apparent. This is not your first rodeo, as they say. That was wonderful. You've given me guidelines to follow. It's a little bit different than I've seen in some other speeches. So let me just address these points. So one of them has to do with the technical nature of the speech, and was the speech technical? And the answer was very much yes. I mean, there was a lot of sort of very specific information about the different pronunciations. It's a very, I think, sort of like when some people, it's very discerning. So some people just drink a wine and it's red and it's strong or, tart, but there are other people who go like, oh, it's got notes of, flowers and hibiscus and chocolate, and then it's on the front of the tongue and the back of the tongue. So interesting that I'm using that analogy, but so you gave incredible discernment to the alphabet and how we human beings pronounce that. So yes, in fact, it was technical. So the next question is, was it hard to follow? So it was a little confusing to me. I will say it was a great use of the board, but you maybe needed a bigger board. So because of that, I couldn't really see the different letters and the sort of combinations of letters and that kind of stuff. So from that standpoint, it was a little bit hard to follow, and there was just a lot to it. So the next question has to do with whether it's applicable for large groups or small groups. I think that could go either way. And again, the tools that you use probably would be much different for a larger audience, but I think that would work for either large or small audience. And then what was the audience response? I think everybody was quite engaged in the topic. You introduced the concept of you guys can participate if you'd like to. You used that a little bit. I think you could have used that more. I would have loved to have a little bit of verbal Olympics and some goofy sounds and whatever, and to really join in on the material that you're presenting. But it was very, very fascinating, and I wasn't aware of all of that relative to language, and so it was really, really enlightening. So in terms of sort of what I might recommend is, I was curious about how you know about this. Have you researched it? Are you an expert in this? Or what were your sources of information on that? And maybe you said that in the beginning, but I missed that. But that would be just to provide a little bit of context on it. And I think your conclusion ultimately had to do with pronunciation is very important. You said you get an A or a B based on whether or not somebody pronounces a particular word correctly. And that, I think, was a big important point. And it was somewhere in there, but I think you could have hit that a little stronger. This is what I'm going to tell you, and this is what I just told you. But other than that, I thought it was terrific. So, yes, done. Thank you.
All right, now Lauren.
Elizabeth, your speech was authentic and inspiring. I liked very much that you painted a picture before and after. Your topic is obviously relevant because here we are in Toastmasters and you took us through your Toastmasters journey and what you learned from it. Again, using your own story is strong, and you also gave us a good beginning involving the audience with the question and making us think. You showed confidence. You explained, you about what a game changer is and got us to think about how we can be game changers as well, or how we are already game changers. The speech was organized. You gave us the 3 areas where you felt that you had grown. And it was very impressive because you've done a speech contest, so in that way you also inspire us. I liked your imagery of you started a plant growing inside of you. You challenged us to consider speaking in other clubs, something I hadn't thought about. And I was struggling with how your speech could have been improved. So if anyone else has suggestions, I'm open to that if we have feedback for Elizabeth in terms of how it could have. I like your use of the space, you walked, and you used your hands. So splendid job from beginning of when you said from June of last year when you joined the club to now. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So I would have to agree. I find difficulty finding something to improve upon. I enjoyed that speech a lot. Next, what we have is our general evaluator.
Usually, the general evaluator is the one who critiques the entire meeting and its presentation. Preceding the general evaluator usually has been the timer's report, so the evaluator can come and critique on how was all of the time used. Was it used properly? And then the grammarian would come in and report as well. So again, the evaluator will say, hey, this is what we need to improve on. My question now will just go to our timer. Did anybody go over time?
Elizabeth?
I think it did, yeah.
Yeah, so she did 10:45, so it's over by 15 minutes.
15 seconds.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Minutes, oh my
15
God.
seconds, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Did anything go over time by your records?
Yeah, so in Jodie, she took 3 minutes and 21 seconds. So it's
Okay.
a little.
Well, evaluation is important because we want to cover all of the details of the speech. You'll hear some good speeches. I'll leave the comments about mine alone because it's a little one-sided. I'm glad it was received. Our evaluation, I'll focus on that. We need to be a little thorough, a little complete. If it's less than 2 minutes, I'm not saying very much. If it goes more than 3 or 4 minutes, maybe you're saying too much. You'll find the balance with some practice. The general evaluator now says, gee, we didn't start on time. We were 4 minutes late. Those things happen. There was an accident right outside the church. It was going in the opposite direction. It was going from between the church and the toll road. So if you're going to take a right out there, you would have, never mind, you're not going anywhere for a while. I know it's going to happen with the opposite direction. Wow, look at this! So that's a good excuse for starting late. We need to be careful apologizing for that, which you don't have no control over. Oh, we're almost ready to start on time, but maybe something happened and we all need to work on that time management part. It is Madam Toastmaster. Not Miss Toastmaster, but Madam Toastmaster. It just carries more respect. Miss suggests the unmarried woman. We say Ms. It's informal. We say Madam in the formal settings. And as a rule, when the speaker moves things because, well, maybe others weren't prepared, the speaker would put them back. Well, we got away with it, but it's just something for the future. Perhaps I should have moved the tripod, but I put it up much earlier. So with that, I turn this back to our Toastmaster for the final reports.
All right. We love all the protocol that Bob introduces us to. That's great. Our next grammarian, John?
Well, this is my first speaking role, or second speaking role at Toastmasters, and it has been my pleasure to listen to some very, very outstanding speakers this afternoon. And I am happy to say that I really did not catch any outlandish grammatical errors. I heard the word God used once or twice, and I am a stickler about God because, you know, I could have, I should have, or whatever, but no, I got to do this. To me, that kind of is an annoyance. But I had the distinct pleasure of not hearing the ahs and the ums. Elizabeth, you were fantastic. 0. 0.
That's exciting.
Bob, great.
2 for you now.
Well, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. Bob, I didn't catch any ahs in the presentation or ums. And Teresa, we're all new, so we did the but you know what? That'll go away next time. Thank you.
Yes, you're going to evaluate me at the end of the year. Timers report. Or, yeah.
Honestly, it's kind of hard to keep track of the time when we have very good speakers in front of you. Their speeches were very authentic, inspiring, and informative. So, let me start with Bob. It took him 8 minutes and 28 seconds, which is good. And Elizabeth, 10 minutes and 45 seconds, a little over 15 seconds, but still okay. Okay. Evaluation of first speech by Jody, 3 minutes and 21 seconds. The next one is Juan. She took 2 minutes and 7 seconds for evaluation of second speech. While general evaluator's report, which was done by Bob, it took him 3 minutes and 14 seconds. And the grammarian by John, it took him 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So everybody did a great job.
Thank you, Jody. And we are right on time for the closing. We caught up with our overages. Club business. This past weekend, I and 3 others were at the leadership training. It was an awesome experience, and I really recommend, if you've never done it before, you don't need to be an officer. It just helps prepare you, because we are not only trying to become competent communicators, but we're trying to become competent leaders. And in order to become a competent leader, you must fulfill some sort of leadership duty, and it can be as simple as participating on a committee, which we will be working on helping to divide it and conquer all of the tasks that go into running the club for the year. Closing business. BPE, do we have anything coming up?
There are contests coming in the very near future. I'd like to see someone besides me go for it. I'm going to go for it just because I want to. They're going to make a change in how things are done, so I would encourage as many people as can work rapidly towards accelerating towards the competent communicator and above. There's ways in this new pathways plan, which we're still learning about, to transfer some of the older plan to the newer plan. I'm a little too far along. I have 2 years to get GTM. So, we got to look for opportunities. Maybe I'll speak at other clubs. And maybe we'll bring some others in here as guest speakers and generate value to see how things look. Now, from a different perspective, there's another club that meets on alternate, the opposite Tuesdays. Why do some of us visit them? We'll bring some of them here. Sound like an idea?
Yep. You'll be a risk taker.
Bob, can you
It's a growth opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
can you share how we can learn about the contest?
I'm going to dig more information into that as well. Be thinking of a very fascinating speech, something that's perhaps in your manual. I had a lot of fun doing vocal variety with my knowledge of phonemes and accents, and I had a seasoned drill instructor laughing. Will I try that again in this age of more political correctness? Maybe not. Perhaps something interesting from your background. Someone spent time in South America, where I have been, and encountered something that just totally surprised me. That might be a fascinating speech.
Thank you, Bob. John?
Did you want to say something? The fact that we got folks transferred over to the new treasurer.
Well, you may.
Yesterday I had the opportunity to sit with our past treasurer, and we transferred the signatories to the new treasurer, which is me. And so I'm going through all of the records, and my intention is to be able to present a set of financials at our next meeting. And I do need your assistance. We're in our new year, and I need all of the vice presidents and other heads to tell me what you are looking to spend in each of your functions so that we can put together a budget and we can work against the budget as we go through the year. And if we can put that all together to have that, so it can be presented at the next meeting, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Speaking of, we have a Facebook page. Yay! Come find us, befriend us, join. We have a personal profile. It's called Humor Mill CNM VA. Okay, and then there's the page in and of itself. The page is Humor Mill Toastmasters with our club number behind it. The page is just a generic page, but the profile is where we can actually befriend somebody. There are things that we can do with a profile that we can't do with a page. So we've got all of those. And that allows us to pull into a closed group for our executive committee meetings. Speaking of, we will be having an executive committee meeting via Zoom online next Friday the 4th at 7 p.m. And I will post the link on the Facebook page. So there's your incentive if you want to join in. Anybody's allowed. You do not need to be an officer to participate. I think the voting is restricted to just us, but the information is public information. And that's it. Anybody else?
Next meeting?
Rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need rolls for next week. Next
I thought we
meeting.
had already started some. We already have a working list. Do you wanna go through that?
I'm gonna pull up the new one for the following,
Okay, so for August 8th, we need a Toastmaster, a general evaluator, timer, improv master, speech evaluators, 1, 2, and 3. So please, if you don't volunteer, we will start assigning.
Right.
I need 3 volunteers, you, and you.
And you could come see
Me, myself,
Bob.
and I.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. There's my little gavel. Meeting is officially adjourned.